Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I've been studying success and personal development for many years now, and I've come to realize something profound. The greatest battle you'll ever fight isn't with your circumstances, isn't with the economy, isn't with your competition, and it certainly isn't with other people. The greatest battle you'll ever fight is the one that takes place right between your own two ears. It's the battle for self-control, self-discipline, and self-mastery. Let me ask you something tonight. Who's in charge of your life? Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, Jim, I am. But let me probe a little deeper. Are you really? Or are your habits in charge? Are your emotions in charge? Are your appetites in charge? Are the opinions of others in charge? You see, there's a big difference between thinking you're in control and actually having control. Self-control isn't something you're born with in abundance. It's not a genetic gift handed down from your parents. No, self-control is a skill, and like any skill, it must be developed, practiced, and refined over time. It's like building a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. The more you neglect it, the weaker you get. Now let me share something with you that changed my life many years ago. I discovered that my life didn't get better by chance, it got better by change. And the most important change of all was learning to take control of myself, my thoughts, my emotions, my actions, and my habits. You see, until you can control yourself, you cannot control your destiny. It's that simple and that profound. Think about this for a moment. Every single day you're making choices, small choices, big choices, conscious choices, unconscious choices, and every single one of those choices is either taking you closer to the life you want or further away from it. The question is, who's making those choices? Is it the disciplined you, the one with vision and purpose, or is it the undisciplined you, the one who takes the easy path, who gives in to immediate gratification, who says, I'll start tomorrow? Let me tell you what I've learned. Tomorrow is the disease that has killed more dreams than failure ever will. Tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. People keep waiting for tomorrow to get their life together, to start that business, to lose that weight, to repair that relationship, to learn that skill. But tomorrow never comes, because when tomorrow arrives, it's called today, and then there's another tomorrow waiting. The ability to control yourself starts with understanding a fundamental principle. You must become the master of your own ship. You cannot let the winds of circumstance blow you wherever they please. You cannot let the currents of popular opinion carry you along. You must set your own course and stay on it, regardless of the weather, regardless of the waves, regardless of what everyone else is doing. Now let's talk about what self-control really means. It's not about being rigid or joyless. It's not about denying yourself every pleasure in life. No, that's not what I'm talking about at all. Self-control is about having the power to choose your response instead of being a victim of your reactions. It's about being able to delay gratification when necessary to achieve something greater. It's about doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. You see, feelings are interesting things. They're real, they're valid, but they're terrible masters. How many times have you not done something important because you didn't feel like it? How many times have you done something destructive because you did feel like it in the moment? Feelings come and go like the weather. One moment you're motivated, the next moment you're not. One moment you're confident, the next moment you're filled with doubt. If you let your feelings control your actions, you'll be on the most chaotic roller coaster ride of your life. Successful people have learned to act in spite of their feelings. They've learned that discipline weighs ounces while regret weighs tons. They understand that the temporary discomfort of self-control is nothing compared to the permanent regret of self-indulgence. This is one of the great lessons of life that you must master if you want to achieve anything significant. Let me give you an example from my own life. There was a time many years ago when I was broke, absolutely broke. I had pennies in my pocket and nothing in the bank. I was working a job I didn't like and I was going nowhere fast. And you know what the hardest thing was? It wasn't the lack of money. It was the lack of control I had over my own behavior. I would make excuses. I would blame others. I would start things and not finish them. I was out of control and my life reflected that chaos. Then one day I met a mentor who changed everything. He asked me a simple question. Jim, who's controlling your life? I said, well, I guess I am. He said, really? Let me ask you this. Did you plan to be broke? Did you plan to be unhappy? Did you plan to be unsuccessful? Of course, I hadn't planned any of that. And that's when he hit me with the truth. If you're not planning your life, someone else is. If you're not controlling your actions, your circumstances are. If you're not disciplined, you're a slave. Those words hit me like a thunderbolt. A slave. I had never thought of it that way, but it was true. I was a slave to my bad habits, a slave to my excuses, a slave to my lack of discipline. And right then and there, I made a decision that changed my life forever. I decided to become the master of myself, to take control, to develop the discipline necessary to create the life I wanted instead of settling for the life I had. Now let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Breaking the chains of old habits never is. But here's what I discovered. Once you taste the freedom that comes from self-control, you never want to go back to slavery. Once you experience the power of directing your own life, you can never be satisfied with being blown about by every wind that comes along. Self-control begins with self-awareness. You cannot control what you're not aware of. You must become a student of yourself. You must observe your patterns, your triggers, your weaknesses, and your strengths. Most people go through life on autopilot, repeating the same mistakes over and over again, wondering why their life never changes. The reason it never changes is because they never change. And they never change because they're not aware of what needs to change. Start paying attention to your thoughts. Your thoughts are the seeds of your actions. Before you do anything, you think about it, even if it's just for a split second. If you can learn to catch those thoughts, to examine them, to question them, you can begin to control them. And when you control your thoughts, you control your life. Let me give you a practical example. Let's say you're trying to eat healthier, but every afternoon at 3 o'clock, you find yourself at the vending machine buying candy. Now, most people would just say, I have no willpower, but that's not the real problem. The real problem is that they haven't traced back the chain of events that led them to that vending machine. If you pay attention, you'll notice that before you went to the vending machine, you had a thought. Maybe it was, I'm tired, or I deserve a treat, or I've been good all day. That thought led to a feeling, and that feeling led to an action. But here's the key. You can interrupt that chain. You can catch that thought and question it. Am I really tired or am I just bored? Do I really deserve a treat or am I just looking for an escape? Have I really been good all day or am I making an excuse? When you start questioning your thoughts instead of blindly following them, you regain control. You create a space between stimulus and response, and in that space lies your freedom. Now let's talk about the emotions, because this is where most people lose control. Emotions are powerful, there's no doubt about that. Anger, fear, excitement, sadness, joy, these are all part of the human experience. But here's what you must understand. You are not your emotions. You have emotions, but they don't have to have you. You can feel angry without acting angry. You can feel afraid without being controlled by fear. You can feel excited without making impulsive decisions. The key is to observe your emotions rather than being swept away by them. When you feel a strong emotion rising up, pause, take a breath, recognize what you're feeling without immediately acting on it. This simple practice, this moment of pause, can save you from countless mistakes. How many relationships have been destroyed by words spoken in anger? How many opportunities have been missed because of fear? How many disasters have been created by decisions made in the heat of passion? I'm not saying you should suppress your emotions. That's not healthy and it doesn't work anyway. What I'm saying is that you should feel your emotions fully, but respond to them wisely. There's a big difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is automatic, unconscious, out of control. Responding is deliberate, conscious, and controlled. Reactive people are at the mercy of their circumstances. Responsive people are in charge of their choices. Let me tell you about one of the most important discoveries I ever made about self-control. It's this. Self-control is not just about saying no to bad things, it's about saying yes to good things. You see, most people think of discipline as deprivation, as restriction, as punishment, but that's the wrong way to think about it. Discipline is actually liberation. It's what frees you from the prison of your own worst tendencies. When you have the discipline to exercise regularly, you're free from the prison of poor health. When you have the discipline to save money, you're free from the prison of debt. When you have the discipline to learn continuously, you're free from the prison of ignorance. When you have the discipline to treat people well, you're free from the prison of loneliness and broken relationships. Do you see? Discipline doesn't limit you, it liberates you. But here's what most people don't understand. Discipline is easier when you have a compelling reason, a powerful why. If your reasons are strong enough, the discipline will come naturally. Let me ask you this. If someone offered you $1 million to wake up at 5 in the morning every day for a year, could you do it? Of course you could. Why? Because the reason is compelling. The same action that seems impossible when you're just trying to be more productive becomes easy when there's $1 million attached to it. So the question isn't really about whether you can control yourself. The question is, do you have strong enough reasons to want to? What are you trying to achieve? What kind of life are you trying to build? What legacy are you trying to leave? If those questions don't stir something deep within you, then you need to spend some time getting clear on your purpose, because without a powerful purpose, self-control will always feel like a burden. Now, let's talk about habits, because this is where self-control becomes practical. Your life is essentially the sum total of your habits. Show me your daily habits and I'll show you your future. It's that predictable. If you have the habit of reading educational material for 30 minutes a day, I can predict that you'll be more knowledgeable in 5 years. If you have the habit of eating fast food for lunch every day, I can predict that you'll have health problems in 10 years. If you have the habit of complaining, I can predict that you'll have fewer friends over time. Your habits are creating your future right now, today, in this this very moment. The beautiful thing about habits is that once they're established, they don't require willpower. They run on autopilot. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't have to use willpower to brush your teeth every morning, do you? It's just automatic. You don't even think about it. That's the power of habit. So the key to self-control isn't to rely on willpower for everything. Willpower is limited, it gets depleted. The key is to use your willpower strategically to establish good habits, and then let those habits carry you forward. But here's the challenge. Bad habits are easy to form and hard to break, while good habits are hard to form and easy to break. Isn't that interesting? It's easy to get into the habit of watching television for hours every night, but it's hard to break that habit. It's hard to get into the habit of exercising every day, but it's easy to break it. You miss one day, then 2 days, then a week, and suddenly you're back to your old ways. So how do you establish good habits and maintain them? First, you start small. Don't try to revolutionize your entire life in one day. That's a recipe for failure. Instead, pick one habit, just one, and focus on it until it's automatic. Maybe it's making your bed every morning. Maybe it's drinking a glass of water before your coffee. Maybe it's writing in a journal for 5 minutes before bed. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's small enough that you can do it consistently. Consistency is the key. It's better to do something small every single day than to do something big once in a while. You see, success isn't about grand gestures. It's about small disciplines repeated with consistency over time. It's the compound effect of doing the right things day after day after day. A little better today than yesterday, a little better tomorrow than today. That's how you build a life. And here's something else I want you to understand about habits. They're connected. When you establish one good habit, it tends to lead to others. It's like dominoes. You start exercising regularly, and suddenly you find yourself wanting to eat better. You start eating better, and you find yourself sleeping better. You start sleeping better, and you find yourself thinking more clearly. You start thinking more clearly, and you make better decisions. One good habit creates momentum for others. The same is true for bad habits, by the way. They're also connected. One bad habit tends to enable others, but we're not going to focus on that because what you focus on expands. Instead, we're going to focus on building good habits, on taking control of our daily actions, on creating the kind of life we deserve. Now, I want to talk to you about something that trips up a lot of people when they're trying to develop self-control. It's the concept of perfection. Let me be clear about this. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is the goal. You're going to slip up. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have days when you don't do what you know you should do. That's part of being human. The question is, what do you do when that happens? Most people use one slip-up as an excuse to give up entirely. They miss one day at the gym and they say, well, I've already blown it, might as well quit. They eat one piece of cake on their diet and they say, I've ruined everything, might as well eat the whole thing. That's all or nothing thinking, and it's one of the biggest enemies of self-control. The truth is, one mistake doesn't ruin your progress any more than one salad makes you healthy. It's the pattern that matters, not the individual instance. So when you slip up, and you will, don't beat yourself up, don't throw in the towel, just get back on track. The faster you get back on track, the less damage is done. It's that simple. In fact, I would argue that how you handle failure is more important than how you handle success. Anyone can stay on track when everything's going well. The real test of character, the real demonstration of self-control is what you do when you fall down. Do you stay down or do you get back up? Do you make excuses or do you take responsibility? Do you give up or do you keep going? Let me share something with you that might sound counterintuitive. Failure is actually a necessary part of developing self-control. Every time you fail and get back up, you're building resilience. You're proving to yourself that you're not fragile, that you can handle setbacks, that you're committed to your goals regardless of temporary defeats. This builds a kind of confidence that success alone can never give you. Think about it this way. If you're learning to ride a bicycle, you're going to fall down. That's just part of the process. Nobody learns to ride a bike without falling a few times. But each time you fall and get back on that bike, you're learning. You're developing balance, coordination, and confidence. The same is true with self-control. Each time you slip and get back on track, you're learning something about yourself, about your triggers, about what works and what doesn't. Now, let's talk about environment, because this is something that doesn't get enough attention. Your environment has a massive impact on your ability to control yourself. If you're trying to eat healthy but your house is full of junk food, you're making it unnecessarily hard on yourself. If you're trying to focus on work but your phone is constantly buzzing with notifications, you're sabotaging your own efforts. If you're trying to save money but you're always at the shopping mall, you're swimming upstream. Self-control isn't just about internal strength, it's also about intelligence, about setting up your environment to support your goals rather than undermine them. This is what I call making the right thing easy and the wrong thing hard. If you want to exercise in the morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to eat healthy, don't buy the junk food in the first place. If you want to save money, set up automatic transfers to your savings account so you don't even see that money. You see, willpower is a finite resource. You you only have so much of it each day. So why waste it fighting against a bad environment when you could create an environment that supports you? Smart people don't just rely on willpower. They design their life in such a way that the right choices become the easy choices. This extends to the people you surround yourself with as well. You become like the people you spend the most time with. That's not my opinion, that's a fact. If you spend time with disciplined people, you'll become more disciplined. If you spend time with people who have no self-control, you'll find your own self-control weakening. It's just the way it works. Now, I'm not saying you should abandon your friends or family, but I am saying you should be very intentional about who you spend your time with and who you allow to influence you. Find people who are going where you want to go. Find people who have the kind of discipline and self-control you want to develop. Spend time with them. Learn from them. Let their habits rub off on you. And be wary of the people who try to pull you down. You know the type. When you're trying to improve yourself, they say things like, "Oh, come on, live a little," or "You think you're better than us now," or "You're no fun anymore." These people are threatened by your growth because it highlights their own lack of growth. Don't let them derail you. Your future is more important than their comfort. Let me talk to you now about the relationship between self-control and freedom, because there's a profound paradox here. Many people think that self-control is the opposite of freedom, that discipline is restriction. But I've discovered the exact opposite is true. The more self-control you have, the more freedom you enjoy. Think about it. If you have no control over your spending, you're a slave to debt. If you have no control over your eating, you're a slave to your weight and your health problems. If you have no control over your temper, you're a slave to your emotions and the damage they cause. Where's the freedom in that? True freedom comes from self-mastery. When you control yourself, you're no longer controlled by your circumstances, your cravings, your fears, or your impulses. The undisciplined person thinks they're free because they do whatever they feel like doing in the moment, but they're actually the most enslaved person there is. They're enslaved to immediate gratification, to their base impulses, to whatever captures their attention. They have no real choice because they've never developed the capacity to choose. They're just reacting to stimuli like a simple organism. The disciplined person, on the other hand, has real freedom. They can choose to indulge when it's appropriate, and they can choose to abstain when it's necessary. They're not controlled by their cravings. They're not at the mercy of their moods. They can do what needs to be done regardless of how they feel. That's real power. That's real freedom. Now, I want to address something that I think holds a lot of people back from developing self-control. It's the belief that self-control is somehow cold or unfeeling, that it means suppressing your spontaneity or your passion. Nothing could be further from the truth. Self-control doesn't eliminate passion. It channels it, it directs it, it makes it more powerful. Think about a river. An undisciplined river floods and destroys, but that same river, when channeled properly, when controlled by banks and dams, can generate electricity, irrigate crops, and provide transportation. The power is the same. The difference is in the control. Your passion is the same way. Undisciplined passion can destroy your life. Disciplined passion can build empires. Some of the most passionate people I've ever met are also the most disciplined. They're passionate about their goals, and that passion fuels their discipline. They're not robotic or cold. They're intensely alive, intensely focused, intensely purposeful. They've just learned to harness their energy and direct it toward what matters most instead of scattering it in 1,000 different directions. Let me share with you one of the most important lessons about self-control that I learned through hard experience. Self-control is not about one big decision. It's about 1,000 small decisions. It's not about the dramatic moment when you're facing a huge temptation. It's about the quiet moment when no one's watching and you choose to do the right thing anyway. Every day you're faced with small choices. Do you hit the snooze button or get up when the alarm goes off? Do you take the stairs or the elevator? Do you eat the donut or the apple? Do you watch another episode or read that book? Do you check social media or focus on your work? Do you gossip or speak well of others? These small choices might seem insignificant in the moment, but they're not. They're everything. Each small choice is like a vote for the kind of person you want to become. Every time you make the disciplined choice, you're voting for your future self. Every time you make the undisciplined choice, you're voting for your past self. And whichever self gets more votes is the one that will win. It's that simple. The problem is that undisciplined choices often feel better in the moment. That's why they're so tempting. The donut tastes better than the apple. The couch is more comfortable than the gym. The gossip is more entertaining than the productive conversation. But here's what you must remember. Everything has a price. The question is not whether you're going to pay a price. The question is which price you're going to pay. You can pay the price of discipline or the price of regret. You can pay the price of hard work or the price of failure. You can pay the price of sacrifice or the price of unfulfilled dreams. One way or another, you're going to pay. But here's the good news. The price of discipline weighs ounces while the price of regret weighs tons. I would rather carry the light weight of discipline every day than the crushing weight of regret for the rest of my life. Now let's talk about something that's absolutely critical to self-control: delayed gratification. This is the ability to resist a smaller immediate reward in order to receive a larger reward later. It's one of the most important predictors of success in life. Study after study has shown that people who can delay gratification achieve more, earn more, have better relationships, and are happier overall. But delayed gratification doesn't come naturally to most people. We're wired for immediate gratification. Our brains are designed to prefer the reward that's in front of us right now over the reward that's somewhere in the future. This made sense when we were hunter-gatherers. If you found food, you ate it immediately because there might not be food tomorrow. But in modern society, this tendency toward immediate gratification works against us. The key to developing the ability to delay gratification is to make the future reward vivid and real in your mind. Most people fail at delayed gratification not because they lack willpower, but because the future reward is abstract while the immediate reward is concrete. The pleasure of eating that dessert right now is real and tangible. The benefit of being healthier 6 months from now is vague and distant, so you have to close that gap. You have to make your future goals as real and as vivid as the immediate temptation. Visualize what your life will be like when you achieve your goal. Really feel it. Make it so real in your mind that it becomes a powerful counterweight to the immediate temptation. When the future reward becomes vivid enough, it becomes easier to delay gratification. Let me give you a practical technique that I've used for years. When you're faced with a temptation, pause and project yourself into the future. Ask yourself, how will I feel about this choice in an hour, in a day, in a week, in a year, in 10 years? This simple exercise can give you tremendous perspective. Most of the time, you'll realize that the temporary pleasure is not worth the long-term cost. Another crucial aspect of self-control is learning to manage your energy, not just your time. A lot of people focus on time management, and that's important, but energy management is even more important. You can have all the time in the world, but if you don't have the energy to do what needs to be done, that time is worthless. Self-control requires energy, mental energy, and physical energy. When you're tired, stressed, or depleted, your self-control weakens. That's why most people make their worst decisions late at night or when they're exhausted. That's why diet violations are more likely to happen at the end of a long day. Your willpower is like a muscle. It gets fatigued with use, so you need to manage your energy strategically. This means getting enough sleep. I cannot emphasize this enough. Sleep is not a luxury, it's a necessity. When you're well rested, you have more willpower, better decision-making ability, and greater emotional control. When you're sleep deprived, you're operating at a severe disadvantage. It also means taking care of your physical health. Exercise regularly, eat nutritious food, stay hydrated. These aren't just about physical health, they're about mental health too. They're about giving yourself the energy you need to exercise self-control consistently. You cannot separate the mind from the body. They work together as a system, and it means being strategic about when you tackle your most important tasks. Do them when your energy is highest, not when it's lowest. For most people, that's in the morning. Don't waste your peak hours on trivial tasks and then expect to have the willpower for important work later in the day when you're depleted. That's setting yourself up for failure. Now, I want to talk about something that's often overlooked when people discuss self-control, and that's the importance of self-compassion. Now, before you think I've gone soft on you, let me explain what I mean. Self-compassion is not self-indulgence. It's not making excuses for yourself. It's treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a good friend. Here's why this matters for self-control. When people are hard on themselves, when they beat themselves up over every mistake, they actually tend to have less self-control, not more. Why? Because self-criticism creates stress, and stress depletes willpower. It creates a negative emotional state, and people tend to try to escape negative emotional states through comfort behaviors like overeating, overspending, or other forms of self-indulgence. On the other hand, self-compassion creates a positive emotional state that actually supports self-control. When you treat yourself with kindness, you're more likely to want good things for yourself. You're more motivated to take care of yourself, to make good choices, to pursue your goals. It's a positive cycle rather than a negative one. So when you slip up, and you will, talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend. You wouldn't say to a friend, "You're such a failure, you'll never amount to anything. You might as well give up." That would be cruel and counterproductive. Instead, you would say, "Hey, you made a mistake. That's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is what you do next. Get back on track. I believe in you." That's the kind of self-talk that actually supports self-control. It acknowledges the mistake without making it bigger than it is. It maintains perspective. It keeps you moving forward instead of spiraling downward into shame and giving up. Let me talk to you now about the role of values in self-control, because I think this is fundamental. Self-control isn't just about willpower and discipline. It's about knowing what you stand for, what you believe in, what's truly important to you. When your actions are aligned with your values, self-control becomes much easier. When they're not, it becomes a constant struggle. Take some time to get clear on your values. What kind of person do you want to be? What principles do you want to live by? What do you want to be known for? What legacy do you want to leave? These aren't trivial questions. These are the questions that give meaning and direction to your life. Once you're clear on your values, use them as a filter for your decisions. Before you do something, ask yourself, is this consistent with my values? Is this the kind of thing the person I want to be would do? This makes decision-making much simpler because you're not just weighing short-term pleasure against long-term benefit. You're asking a deeper question about identity and integrity. And here's what I've found. When you violate your values, you pay a price that goes beyond the practical consequences. You pay a price in self-respect. You lose a little bit of trust in yourself. And that erosion of self-trust makes future acts of self-control harder because on some level, you don't believe in your own commitment anymore. On the other hand, when you honor your values, even when it's difficult, you build self-respect, you build self-trust, you prove to yourself that you're someone who keeps their word, even the word you give to yourself. And that makes future acts of self-control easier because, you're capable of doing hard things. Now, I want to address one final aspect of self-control that I think is absolutely critical, and that's the ability to focus. In today's world with constant distractions and endless demands on our attention, the ability to focus is becoming increasingly rare and increasingly valuable. But focus is a form of self-control. It's the ability to direct your attention where you want it to go and keep it there despite distractions. Every time you check your phone when you're supposed to be working, every time you let your mind wander when someone's talking to you, every time you bounce from task to task without finishing anything, you're practicing a lack of control. You're training yourself to be distracted, and the more you do it, the worse it gets. But the good news is that you can train yourself in the opposite direction. You can practice focus. You can practice giving your full attention to one thing at a time. Start small, maybe just 5 minutes of focused attention on a single task with no distractions. Then gradually increase it. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. You'll be amazed at what happens when you give something your full undivided attention. The quality of your work improves. You actually enjoy what you're doing more, you accomplish more in less time, and you build the mental muscle of focus, which is really the mental muscle of self-control. As we come to the close of our time together tonight, I want to leave you with this thought. Self-control is not a destination. It's a journey. You never arrive at a place where you have perfect control and never have to work at it again. It's a daily practice, a daily commitment, a daily choice. But here's the beautiful thing. Every day you practice self-control, you get a little bit better at it. Every day you make the disciplined choice, you strengthen that muscle. Every day you align your actions with your values. You build the kind of life and the kind of character you can be proud of. The question is not whether you're perfect. You're not, and you never will be. The question is whether you're better today than you were yesterday. Are you more in control? Are you making better choices? Are you becoming the person you want to be? If you can answer yes to those questions, you're on the right path. Learn to have control over yourself. Master yourself before you try to master anything else, because at the end of the day, the only person you can truly control is you. You can't control the economy. You can't control what other people do. You can't control the weather or politics or the stock market, but you can control yourself. You can control your thoughts, your actions, your responses, your habits, your choices. And when you have that control, when you have that self-mastery, you have something that no one can take away from you. You have the power to create the life you want instead of settling for the life you get. You have the ability to pursue your dreams with discipline and persistence. You have the strength to overcome obstacles and setbacks. You have the character to earn the respect of others and, more importantly, yourself. So starting today, right now, make the commitment to develop greater self-control. Pick one area of your life where you know you need more discipline. Just one. Don't try to fix everything at once. Pick one area and commit to making progress there. Make a plan. Take action. And when you slip up, because you will, get back on track immediately. Don't waste time in regret or self-pity. Just get back on track and keep moving forward. Remember, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day, while failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated every day. It's the accumulative weight of our disciplines and our lack of disciplines that determines our future. The exciting thing is that the choice is yours. You get to decide. Will you take control of yourself, or will you remain controlled by your circumstances, your emotions, your appetites, and your habits? I hope you'll choose control. I hope you'll choose discipline. I hope you'll choose to become the master of yourself, because when you do, there's no limit to what you can achieve, no dream too big to pursue, no goal beyond your reach. The power is within you. It always has been. The question is, will you use it? Thank you for your time tonight. Now go out there and take control of your life. Make it something magnificent.